back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. LeBron James was never a king or the king of the NBA. Let's talk about this. And I want to give a shout out to Sports and Fitness Rants. I heard him talking about this earlier, and I was going to do a video on this anyways. He just beat me to it. If you want to go check out his video he made today, go check it out. Pretty good video. But I want to take it to, go in a different angle about this whole thing. When was LeBron ever a king? And this guy came into the league calling himself the king, right? Think about it. Think about some names in the past that they lived up to their name. And they weren't called these names until they actually lived up to them. Michael Jordan, they called him Air Jordan because he could hang in the air, right? They could have called him a lot of stuff, but Air Jordan stuck. Well, they did call him a lot of different Black Cat, MJ. They called him a lot of names, His Highness, but it was Air Jordan that stuck with him because, it fit him the most. He could hang in the air. What we thought he was defying gravity and stuff like this. Magic Johnson, right? Magic Johnson, because he did magical things with the ball. I mean, if you haven't never watched him play, go watch some highlights. You get chill bumps just watching this guy play in his highlights and stuff like that. Skyhook, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he had the skyhook. I'm not going to go through all the names, but, we think about Kobe Bryant, the Mamba, right? He earned that. We think about Shaq Attack, because you just, the guy was crazy. I mean, he'd dunk all over you, bring down the rim, real dominant. Hakeem the Dream Shake, all this stuff. But what I'm trying to say is these guys didn't come into the league and were called these names, right? They actually had to earn or be given these names. And they had to actually show that they did something to be called these names. Well, what about LeBron James? What did he do to earn the name King James, right? For example, right? Michael Jordan, and a lot of these players from the past that I just mentioned, except for Kobe, a lot of these guys end up going to college. So they were able to, refine their games and become better players than what a guy would be jumping from high school straight to the NBA, because in college you're playing the best of the high school players, right? In high school, you're playing the best of who? Nobody knows, just the guys who tried out for the team, right? You're not playing the best of the college players. So when you get to the NBA, like I said before, now you're playing the best of the college players. So if you skip college and go straight to high school, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you, right? Because now you're going to the elite level. So people like Michael Jordan, Magic, Kareem, Bill Russell, these guys were able to refine their games and become great players before they got drafted, right? You take a guy like LeBron James, he comes straight out of high school from playing, I don't know, private school kids. 99.9% of them, they'll never be in the NBA, right? They'll never be in the NBA. So this guy was playing nobody. And he comes into the NBA calling himself the king. Wow, that's a bold statement. That's a bold name and a bold title for you to put on yourself, the king. Wow. Could you imagine this guy coming into the 80s and 90s, even in the 70s and 60s with the name king? They would want to roll this guy down the street, right? You would have to show me you are the king, right? Not you playing some high school players and then jumping straight to the pros. You would have to show us that you earned the name king to be coming up into the NBA, right? I just can't even imagine. Back in the 80s and 90s, they would try to destroy this guy. Just think, Kobe had to sit on the bench his first couple years. Now, I do think if he would have went to the Hornets, he turned that down. If he would have went to the Hornets, I think he would have started, even in a tougher NBA. But whole different story. I told Shaq Attack that today. I just can't put Kobe top 5 over Jordan, well, with Jordan, Kareem, Wilt, Russell, and Magic because he doesn't have the statistical titles. He doesn't have it. Okay, I put him over LeBron because two of LeBron's MVPs are frauds. He went to Miami and won two MVPs with the second best player in the East at the time. And another Hall of Fame player, Chris Bosh. So top 10 players in the league at the time. So then you throw in Ray Allen. So those two MVPs are fraudulent, right? And they try to talk about Joker. So yeah, this guy is pretty bold for what he did, calling himself the king. So he comes in to the league, and this is your king, right? His fans make all the excuses in the world. He was young, blah, blah, blah. You're calling yourself the king already. That's it. I can't even believe he's even got away with this the whole time he has, calling himself the king, King James. And we all know what he's referring to when we say King James. We're talking about King James of the Bible, right? So that's the first thing people think of I mean, we've grown and to the name. So most of us don't think of King James the Bible now because we done heard it so many times. But when you first hear this name, King James, when referring to LeBron, you're thinking about King James from the Bible. And that guy did a lot of bad stuff. And we're not going to get into it. But yeah, this guy is that's a bold claim to be King James. So his fans say he was too young, but he comes into the league with the name King James. He misses the playoffs his first season, not an all-star. Shoots 41% from the field. And gets crushed in the Olympics. Was he the king then? Second season. Misses the playoffs with an all-star teammate. Was he the king then? Did he prove he was the king then? Third season. They changed the rules for the king. Now he's making the playoffs. No more hand checking at all. Or it can be called. We did a video on that. Am I saying nobody hand checked in? I'm not trying to say that. But they were calling it even more if you did something like that. It wasn't like 95, 96 season where they supposedly outlawed it. And they were doing it all the way until Michael Jordan was in Washington. So 2006. Was he the king then? When he blew a 3-2 lead going back home versus the Pistons and ultimately lost the series. Go check out his numbers and percentages in games 6 and 7. Was he the king then? 2007, when he melted down in the finals and played nobody. Was he the king then? Well, played nobody to get to the finals. Was he the king then? 2008, faced his first super team. Man, that man had 35, 8 and 8. Okay. What about him shooting 39% from the field? Was it 30? I could have sworn it was 35. You guys got to go back and look at that for me. I thought it was 35%. Like 61% from the line, like 31% from three, 5 turnovers a game. Was he the king then? 2009. Best record in the NBA. MVP. Well, should have been the king then, right? He won the MVP. He won the MVP over a super team. Remember, these guys couldn't get MVP on this super team. The Kevin Garnett's, the Ray Allens, the Paul Pierce. How did LeBron get the MVP, though? 2012, 2013 on that super team. Woo, okay. So, he melted down in 2009. We know that against Dwight Howard. That's why Dwight Howard is not a top 75 player. Go look at his resume. It's criminal. Go look at his resume. One of the greatest defenders of all time. 3 defensive players in the three defensive player of the years in a row. Whew. Oh boy. All kind of NBA, all NBA first teams. What, 2 block titles? Like, what was it, 5 rebound titles? It's ridiculous how this man didn't get in the top 75. But yeah, that's a strike against LeBron if this guy's in the top 75. Not only because he beat LeBron, but because he helped LeBron get a bubble championship. So they kept him out of the top 75. But they put Dame Dollar in there. I don't even think he has any statistical accolades. 2010, won the MVP, first place in the NBA, number one seed. Melts down to the Boston Celtics, who again, they couldn't get an MVP player. Why? Because they had a super team, I guess, right? LeBron has a super team 2012 and 13. How's he get the MVP? So he melts down against those guys who were a number 4 seed. What a joke. What a joke. How can a super team get a number 4 seed in that weak East? There's nobody in that East. Nobody. The Cavs, the Magic, in Boston. How you could take one of those guys off the super team, say Ray Allen, and it still wouldn't even be possible they get the 4th seed. Because you had Rondo on that team. You had a lot of guys on that team that were good. But this was a super team LeBron was going against that had the number 4 seed. So when he lost in 2010, when was he the king? Wait, hold on. He goes to Miami in 2011. Are you the king then? You're running to other men. You've been dethroned. You since you came into the league, missing the playoffs, losing in the Olympics, losing in 06 and melting down 06 playoffs, melting down 07 finals, 08 face your first super team. We know what you did then. 09, you did that. 2010. So this guy's always been dethroned as the king since he came into the league. He's been dethroned. What year was this guy the king? So when we go into 2011, he left his kingdom. He left his kingdom and ran to another king of his kingdom, right? Dwayne Wade already won a championship, finals MVP, was a top 2 player in the East, top 5 player, we would say, in the NBA. So you're running to another man as a king. What are we talking about? You guys got to stop, man. This guy, come on. You brought Bosch with you. You in another man's kingdom, and you're calling yourself the king. So we know what happened in them 4 years where this guy was never the king. And he got turned into a princess by the Mavs and by San Antonio, right? He might have went up to prince status when he barely beat San Antonio in 13, but they brought him back down to princess status in 2014. So when he went back to the Cavs, that's not his kingdom no more. That's not his kingdom no more. Somebody else took his kingdom in Cleveland when he went back to the Cavs. So we got Kyrie over there in Cleveland. He's doing his thing. He's the new king now. Remember, he was the number 1 overall draft pick, right? Making all-star teams and everything. I think he was all-star MVP. The man was the next who of who, right? So LeBron comes back to Cleveland, to Kyrie's kingdom. And without Kyrie, what happens? He takes a 2-1 lead going back home, and he poops his pants in 2015 finals. 2016, the king, Kyrie, returns and saves the day. Right? And we all know what happened then. This prince, who was updated from princess status to prince after the 2016 finals because of Kyrie, this prince now says he's the king, and that one there made him the greatest. A guy that became, at that point, 3-4 in the finals, that had been dethroned all of his career he says this. So he's the new king, right? So the next season, what happens? He gets dethroned again. They just keep taking his throne away. Kevin Durant came in there and shot his lights out. His entire team played lockdown defense on their guys, but LeBron couldn't play lockdown defense on this guy. Because again, I told you this guy is a fake Magic Johnson. He's so worried about getting these stats. I don't need you getting assists, homie. You're not a guard. You're not a point guard. We need you to get these points. We need you to average 40 points a game and outscore Kevin Durant and shut him down. So if you take that energy away from trying to get these rebounds and trying to get these assists and shut Kevin Durant down and get the points, we win. But he ain't about that life. He really ain't about shut Kevin Durant down, right? Because Kevin Durant would just make him look worse. It should be easy for him to lock down Kevin Durant, right? Dude that's 250 pounds. Supposed to be the fastest, the quickest, can jump the highest. All this fairy tale book shit. We haven't seen it. So 2018, we saw who the real king was, right? Kyrie left and this guy couldn't get one game. Kyrie couldn't get one game. He's on the bench crying and pouting because something J.R. Smith did. This ain't what a king does. So Kyrie left, and this guy got reduced to princess status again. Yeah, he went back to the NBA Finals, but that doesn't tell you nothing. All it tells us is how weak the era really was. 2018, what happened to the king? No, 2019, my fault. 2019, what happened to the king? What happened to the king? The same thing that happens with the king when he doesn't have somebody to help him out. And he had nobody to blame. So he missed the playoffs. He went and got AD. Remember, we're told that this guy makes players better. And they had a pretty good roster. He could have made those guys better. Nope. He goes get Anthony Davis. And they win the bubble that nobody cares about. But I'm not really going to go any further. We could go further, and we could clown the rest of this guy's career. But I'm just trying to ask you guys, when was this guy the king of the NBA? 4-6 in the finals, 2 statistical titles. When was he the king of the NBA? 27, 7, and 7. What is it? King of scoring? 27 points ain't going to get you up there with the elite all-time scorers of all time. Not only the statistical titles, I'm talking about the 27 points. It's good. And sometimes you can say it's great, but it's not with the elite scorers of all time, right? We look at the 7 rebounds. What? That's that's laughable. Man, Michael Jordan was a guard. He overachieved. He had 6 rebounds a game. My man overachieved. Okay? LeBron 6'9", 250, 75 pounds. He's underachieving in that sense. Just think if this guy would have got 27, 10, and I wouldn't even say he had to get 7 assists. Maybe 6, 5. And that would have been more respectable. The 10 rebounds, because we know, people average 10 or more, like Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Larry Bird, all these type of guys like that. We know the list, at least just 10. Because we look at guys like, I think, Kidd, he averaged 7 a game. He was a guard. Clyde Drexler, I think he averaged 7 a game and he was a guard. So 7 rebounds is not respectable for his size and his height. 7 assists. Okay, it's good. It's not great. It's not elite. It's good, but it's not great and it's not elite. Good is about, I would say 9. 9, maybe 8. Maybe 8. Um, but elite, we're talking about 10 or more. That would be elite. So what has this guy been good at? What makes him a king? Now, I can say what makes him a king though is his he is the king of the media, right? If they don't do what he says, they won't have a job. Well, I won't even say that. I would say that he's giving them money. So he's really not the king of the media. I would say he's maybe a pimp, the pimp of the media. That's all he is, right? He's never been a king in this league. And to me, I think when he came into the league, these guys, even though it was the 2000s, they couldn't wait to tee off on this guy. So that was a big name to live up to, King James, and he never lived up to it, especially coming out of high school. Oh, like I said, if he would have played in the 80s and 90s, they would have had a field day with this guy. It would have been King, excuse us? I mean, like, really? The king? Wow. They would have had and that's why the media always had to keep making excuses for this guy all of his career, because he's never been a king. Never. Never. He's never been the king of what though? They never told us what the king of what. Felon? You failed a lot of times. We can say you were the king of that, but this guy is a fake king. He's a false idol. What they say, don't worship false idols. Don't worship idols at all. But a false idol? Woo! Tell me what you think.